host, Winifred Adams, and today we have a very special guest. I want to welcome not only a veteran, but a decorated veteran and someone that took a hit for us and his fellow man. But more importantly, today, not only is that veteran going to tell us his tricks to survival, but we are going to go through the very most important things that you're going to need in the event of a blackout. So right here on Making Life Brighter, stay tuned because I have a very special guest for you today. And we are going to dive into it headlong and find out exactly what you need, why you need it, and the most important must-haves upcoming. Stay tuned. You're listening to Making Life Brighter, and we have Mr. Teddy Daniels. Because today on Making Life Brighter, we are going to be talking about Operation Blackout. How to survive 365 days of blackout. And up next, we have the author of this book and our veteran hero, Mr. Teddy Daniels. And welcome, Mr. Teddy Daniels. Teddy is we'll call him Teddy for short because he doesn't like a particular rank, but welcome, Teddy. It's nice to have you here on Making Life Brighter. And he is the author of Operation Blackout and How to Survive 365 Days with Absolutely Complete Darkness. So welcome, Teddy. It's nice to have you here with us today. Appreciate
Thank you. And this is an honor to be on here. You know, I told you I did my homework on you and I'm highly impressed. So thank you for having me on today. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I think that goes both ways. I very much appreciate your skill set and the time you're taking out to share with us about this skill set because it may be very important upcoming. So first of all, let's talk about your story. You were on Tucker Carlson. You shared your story of being shot at and in combat, and that you took the heroic move of stepping out, put yourself ahead of your fellow man, and you took the hit. So let's get into that.
Well,
you were in Afghanistan, is that right?
I was. And I want to go back and correct some. I wouldn't call it a heroic move. I would just call it something that I was in that position to do at that time. I truly believed that if any of the other guys in my squad were in that same position on that hill at the same time, that they would have done the same thing. So there was really, truly nothing special about that. But yeah, I got wounded in Afghanistan. I caught a couple bullets on a hillside. We got pinned down. And right, wrong, indifferent, smart, stupid, whatever you want to call it, I came out into the open and drew fire away from the rest of our squad in the middle of an ambush. I got hit a few times and was able to fight my way down off that mountain by myself. So it was quite the experience. And
I'd say, yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I went through it because you learn a lot about yourself when you're in situations like that. I remember as a younger man, and I don't know how many other men thought of this, boy, if I was ever in a gunfight or I was ever in a shooting, this is what I would do. I would do this or I would do that. A lot of people with the what ifs. I have those questions answered. I don't have the what ifs. I know what I have inside of me at this point, and I know exactly what I would do and how I would react because I've already done it. And the other thing I really learned about combat is about love, the deepest form of love that a person can have. And that's loving other people to the point to where you would actually step out and take bullets for them. And I think a lot of that is lost on TV. A lot of that is lost in the news. I was the oldest guy on that patrol. I was 37 years old. I enlisted at 35. I shipped to infantry school at 36. I was twice the age of everybody else that went through. I walked out of a 15-year law enforcement career. And I felt that day I had kids. I bought homes. I've lived my life. And I wasn't going to let some 18, 19-year-old kid who really hadn't experienced life yet go out there and risk himself to save the unit. So I put it on me, and I felt good doing it, being the oldest guy there. I've lived my life, and give these guys a chance to go home and experience getting married, having kids, buying a house, raising a family, paying taxes. Let them experience all that stuff themselves.
Yeah, so you really taken a step up now. What had you go into it that late, and why did you leave the career you had behind?
Well, I we'll back up a little bit. I actually played college football at West Virginia. I was a scholarship athlete. I was a starting guard for the WVU Mountaineers. After that, I got into police work, and I worked my way up. I did everything you could have possibly done in police work. And at 35, I found myself as a deputy chief of police, and I wasn't on the street as much as I liked. I found myself sitting behind a desk, and I'm approving reports and doing roll calls and inspections and handling complaints and, stacking parking tickets. And I thought to myself at 35, have I peaked? Is this it? Is this what the rest of my career, the rest of my life is going to look like? And, my family has had a very long tradition of service. It's almost like the Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. And, I felt, what? I need to go do my part. I need to do it now. I guess you could call it my Hemingway moment. I really wanted my metal tested, and I wanted to see if I still had what was in me from when I was playing college ball, from when I was going through the police academy, from when I was a young cop. Maybe it was me fighting back against Father Time. I don't know, but there were a lot of reasons combined as to why I did it.
Well, let's see your tattoos because I saw those arms a second ago, and there has to be a story there that goes along with your purpose.
So, my sixth great grandfather was actually a captain in the Virginia militia in the American Revolution. And after the Revolution, he was recruited by Daniel Boone to lead him on a surveying expedition through West Virginia into Kentucky. I have a tattoo here that represents another relative. I have their enlistment papers from the Civil War. My family fought in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and me on the global war of terror. So I had to keep that. I think that tradition of service going in our family. Now, I have four boys. I don't want them to serve. Not today, not in today's military.
Why
If
not?
it's different. It's just different. The world is a much more dangerous place. Um, we are not in a position since we were in World War II where it was a win and go home war. Now it's more of a counterinsurgency. The military is conducting more of a State Department operation in nation building than it is actually fighting bad guys. And I believe the military is mismanaged. I believe the wokeness of society has infiltrated into the military. I think they care more about DEI and pronouns and transgenderism than they do about training to be the best military on the face of the earth. I've said this for years. I don't think the military is a place for social experimentation. It's a place where the best of the best go to defend this nation. And it has evolved out of that, unfortunately. I mean, the recruiting numbers alone are down beyond belief. So we're in
Well, when you
trouble.
when
We're
you
in
went in
trouble.
there, you obviously had to get some jabs and things in order to go overseas. Do you know what you put into your what they put into you?
I do. They gave me a list of stuff, whether that's the stuff they put in, I don't know. But I stood in line as I was going through processing when I started infantry school and got a bunch of shots then, and I got a few more before I deployed. Um, but I know that it's stuff that they've been given the military for years, and it has
Yeah.
been tested, approved, side effects obviously known. And I see where you're going with this. And
Well, I had done some research a long time ago about anthrax and squalene and all the
mhm.
things that they did when they tested it out during the first, you know, Iraq kind of invasion or pre-invasion way back when. And then where has that gone to? Because they were giving them heavy loads of just that. And I was wondering if you experienced those types of things, if you had any knowledge of what they put in you.
I did. I did. I didn't look too much into it. I was more concerned about walking through hell's door when I hit down range than what was really going into my
And you
arm.
did, and you did, and then you survived Hell's Door. What was it like to survive that moment and walk out of it?
I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I had my talk with God behind that rock that day, and I should have died. I should be dead. I had a bullet knock my sunglasses off my face. I had another one skip off my helmet. As I was getting behind that rock around, hit the grenade launcher on my rifle. It just so happened at that moment that grenade launcher was right in front of my face. And God saved my life that day. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Pulp Fiction, but where the guy comes out the door and he fires 6 rounds at Samuel Jackson and misses, and he calls it divine intervention. I truly believe that's what happened. I do believe in miracles. Um, I don't know why. I don't know what that reason is yet. I know when I came home, I was having a hard time dealing with some things. I had some really bad things happen to me, and I would ask God, why'd you save me that day just to bring me back and put me through this? But as I've gotten older, I think every bit of adversity and challenge and scars that somebody has and things that they go through truly makes them tougher and more prepared for anything else that comes down the pike. So I'm sure there's a reason for everything that's happened. And someday I might know what it is, someday I won't. But what happens, happens.
Well, you're a very strong person for sure. And to take that on and then step into it like you did. I love what you wrote in your book about having to take a split second, a fraction of a second to think about me. Well, it's not about me. I'm thinking about my son. I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
my family, and now I'm going to step in and I'm going to put myself out there for my men. And you did that. And when you came home, you always, I'm sure, have been riddled with a little bit of guilt and survivor's guilt, as most are. But how long did it take you to recover, and what happened after that? Because you get separated, and here you are, brothers together.
Well, it's a day by day thing. The first year or two was very difficult. Found myself patrolling my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. My mind just didn't want to turn off. And I did talk to a doctor, and I think, and here's what I want to put out there too for guys who have been in combat and who are having a hard time dealing with things. Go talk to somebody. There is no shame in it at all. Go talk to somebody, work through it, and you're going to come out great on the other side. I think there's a big stigma out there with, PTSD and veterans who are trying to get better. I think society holds a stigma against them, and I don't think that's right. The ones I'm worried about are the ones that don't go talk to somebody and the ones that don't go get help. Um, but I was told that my primal uh, cognitive thinking was changed in combat. So most people's reaction to stress is fight, flight, or freeze. Mine got rewired to fight mode because that's what kept me alive downrange. And when I would come back and have a flare up in traffic or something like that, there's no slowing it down. It was 0 to 100. And I had to change my cognitive thought process. And, one of the ways I did that obviously was overexposure to that gunfight video to where, it could play 24/7 now. It doesn't bother me. I'm good. I'm fine. And, just a lot of exposure treatment and trying to reprogram how my brain thinks and, get myself out of that constant fight mode.
Do you feel that you're in that mode now?
I'll tell you what, it's like flipping a light switch. Somebody tries to harm me or my kids, that switch will get flipped back on. It does take a lot to flip that switch, but right now the switch is off. I am a calm, happy, very peaceful member of society and productive member of society.
You look
And
jolly.
jolly, you say that about
Yeah.
fat guys, okay?
No.
Yes, fat guys are jolly.
I didn't
Man,
say that. No,
it's all
I
right.
didn't.
It's all right. It's
You
all
look
good.
jolly. No, seriously.
No, I'm a
You seem
happy
jolly.
guy. I really am. I have a great sense of humor. And again,
And
it's
you have
all
a son, a 6-year-old son?
my youngest is 6. I'm a full-time single dad. His mother passed last year. And
Sorry to hear that.
it's me and him. So he's my buddy, and we go everywhere and do everything together. I think he's growing up a lot faster than I'd like, and maybe a lot faster than he'd like. But when it's just you and dad all the time, and dad's buddies who come to the house and maybe use language around him that they shouldn't use around him, and he picks up on stuff, but he's one of the guys.
He's probably an old soul if he's with you, and he's probably actually very grateful to have you. And on that note, since he is your diamond right now, tell me, I'm hearing word that there may be a draft again. How do you feel about that? Do you know if that's the case?
Oh, you hear a lot, you see a lot. I know they are discussing it behind the scenes in DC. I don't want my boy to serve. Not in today's military. I don't want him going in. I think wokeness has taken over our military again. The whole DEI and transgender and pronoun thing has overshadowed the tortures of training, the physicality of training, the toughness of training, to where now people don't want to get their feelings hurt. Well, I'll tell you this, in the Middle East, in China, in Russia, they don't care about your feelings. They don't care. You have 7, 8-year-old kids that can disassemble and put together an AK-47 where they actually teach that stuff in schools. So I think we're way behind in our country. And, one of our founding fathers, Thomas Paine, had a quote: "If trouble must come, let it come in my time, so my children may live in peace." I went and fought so he wouldn't have to. So I'll be damned if he's got to go off and fight somewhere. I already did that. I put that time in. I don't want him having to fight the fights that we should have stood up and fought.
Well, it seems like it's a very different fight. Like you said, there's not going to be the same playing field. And, you were above ground. You were on the ground, literally. The things that are coming next may or may not be on the ground, correct?
You are absolutely correct. We are looking at the serious possibility of an EMP. We have the Chinese hacker situation. Let's put it this way. The United States has pretty much pissed off every other superpower in the world. And we have an idiot at the helm right now, surrounded by other idiots who they don't know how to protect this nation. The Afghan withdrawal was, example number one. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago how, what was it? Was it AT&T? All the cell phones went down. That's attributed to hackers. Now, if hackers could go in there and hack a privately owned company, imagine what they can do to our infrastructure. Imagine what they can do. We have that cargo ship that just hit the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. A lot of things there don't make sense. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just don't believe everything the news tells me. And I will do my own homework on that and take a look and say, is it plausible? Because let's be honest, I'd say 90% of the population have their head in the sand. They're stupid. They're not awake to what's going on around them. And they turn on the TV and they either get told what to be offended by or what explanation is going to be shoved down their throats for whatever event happened that day. So I think we need to start taking more personal accountability for our lives, for our well-being, for our survival, and stop counting on the corrupt media and our dysfunctional government to do it for us.
Well, I mentioned to you that I had spoken with Sergeant William Kotel. I had him on a few times, and he'd been in CENTCOM in the Benghazi theater at the time. We've talked many times about what's happening right now in Venezuela and in the border and coming back up from the south, so to speak, and what's really being positioned, which is what you're speaking to. You're speaking to how we've irritated greater powers, east and west, really. And
We have.
so now we have a problem. And what do you see as our biggest problem upcoming?
Well, besides the cyber warfare, the EMP, and the possible blackout, the most likely blackout that we're going to end up facing as a country. And there's another reason why I look at that too. If you recall, last year in Ukraine, they did not hold elections because they were at war and they couldn't hold elections. So Zelensky remained in power. This is the type of government that our taxpayer money is supporting. So you take a look at the polls now heading into 2024. Is somebody going to flip a switch and do something here so our administration can then say, well, there's a blackout, no elections, can't do it, Biden's got to stay in office? I don't put anything past our government at this point. I really don't. So getting back to that, we have the EMP, we have the cyber attacks by the hackers across the globe, and then you have the invasion at the southern border with all military-age males. These people aren't just coming from Venezuela, Guatemala, Mexico. They're coming from China. They're coming from Yemen. They're coming from Iran. The whole China thing really has my radar up because they're going to take a flight from China to South America to cross the border.
Oh, yeah.
Why not just fly into the United States?
They are. Well, they will. I did an interview on the Olympic athletes in Lake Placid. Your point is so important here. And when I was up there interviewing athletes, somebody said, hey, did you hear about the Jeff Bezos of China in the Adirondack Mountains? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, well, he just bought, actually, it was the Rockefeller estate. He bought the whole estate and then put in his own 747 runway. Now, he was the head of Alibaba. Come to find out, fast forward as my education continued. Now we go back to Texas. The general from their country has put in a 747 runway with a windmill farm. We have this happening. They can, on their own spacing, land.
Well, and the other thing you have happening too is the Chinese buying up farmland across the United States. They're buying land next to military installations. You have our elites in this country building $1 billion underground bunkers in all places, Hawaii, off of our mainland. Why? Why? And that's the question nobody asks, is why? And then what you have to do is you have to reverse engineer that question backwards to the event and figure it out. Sometimes it is so obvious that it smacks you in the face that you look at yourself and you're like, no, it can't be this. But when all the pieces of the puzzle fit together, you really got to ask yourself that question. Why are all these people preparing for something bad? And again, the southern border, the global enemies we've made, the farmland and the land across this country being bought up, the Chinese secret police operating on U.S. soil. There's a lot going on that obviously the mainstream media, which whether it be right or left leaning, is still right or left leaning. Everybody wants to throw their own political opinion into it without just reporting the freaking facts. And that's what the American people are missing nowadays are the facts. Maybe they don't want to put them out because, this country's has turned too soft and people will get their feelings hurt. If you remember the report that came out a couple months ago about a serious Russian threat, it was only in the news for about 2 days, and it concerns outer space. Gee, what's Russia doing in outer space that poses a serious threat to the United States that the United States has no defense of? What could it be? That story ran for about 2 days, and then that was it because they didn't want to create mass panic. So,
well, what about Space Force?
I don't even know what to say about that. That wasn't even a branch when I was in. I don't know much about it. I think of Buck Rogers and Star Wars when I think of Space Force. But
you
the
sat down with Trump, though, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I did. I did.
What did he have to say about that?
Well, I'll tell you this: we do not have the capabilities militarily to prevent an EMP from happening. That's been discovered in Homeland Security documents. That's been discovered in CIA documents. That's been discovered in congressional and defense documents. It's been flat out. We do not have the capability to defend against that. So, maybe they're trying to figure something out now. I know at least they were under Trump. I don't know what's happening in the Biden administration. I don't even think Biden knows what's happening in the Biden administration.
Is there a Biden administration?
The man's a puppet. And I'll tell you this, I feel for the man because I think the reason that they made him the nominee and the reason they pushed him for office is because here's a man who was so, and it happens to older folks. And I do feel for him. I don't believe he understands or knows everything that he's saying. He reads off of a teleprompter, but he's a puppet for the progressive left and the communists in the Democrat Party. He's a puppet. And they shuffle him up there and tell him, go say this and go say that. And I don't even think he understands what he's saying or doing. So I believe maybe our ire is aimed at the wrong person. Again, I am a compassionate person. He's an old, feeble man. And should he be president? No. Do I believe he knows what he's doing? Not one bit. So he's obviously being controlled.
It seems like that for sure. And I don't want to deviate from where we're going, but I have to ask this question. Before you went in, you had one set of ideologies and understanding, I'm sure. When you came out, did you have a different set of ideologies? Did it change for you?
From when I went to police work into out of the military. Is that
Yes,
what
when
you're
you,
asking?
yes, yes.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I understood a lot more. I saw a lot more than what I saw as a cop, that's for sure. Um, Being a police officer, I already had compassion, already had empathy. I'd seen a lot of things that most people don't see, but it multiplied when I was in a war zone and involved in combat daily. And like I said, the one thing that I truly learned my ideology on a lot of things was I learned about love. And the other thing that really got me, and the funny thing, I read the book when I was in school, and I was browsing Netflix earlier today, and All Quiet on the Western Front was on. So I watched that today, and the part where this German soldier, because it's the story's told from a German soldier's viewpoint in World War One. He's in a bomb crater, and a French soldier comes in, and he stabs the French soldier, and then it realizes that this is a human too, and then he tries to help him. What really hit me was I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, went to church every Sunday, baptized, confirmed, first communion, everything else. Was the Ten Commandments: thou shalt not kill. And I had a hard time dealing with that when I got back too. And people would tell me, well, it was combat. You were in a war. And I said, well, I don't see no asterisk under thou shalt not kill that says, unless you're in combat or unless you're in war. So I guess the main way that, and I kind of dumbed it down and I simplified it, that my philosophy changed was take a whiteboard, put a line through the middle, and on one side on the top it says attaboy, and on the other side it says oh shit, and you just start putting check marks. Every good thing you do, you get an attaboy. Every bad thing you do, you mark the oh shit box. When it's my time to head to the pearly gates, if I got more attaboys than oh shits, I should be okay. So that's kind of how I simplify it and dumb it down.
I appreciate that. I like your philosophy. I was looking at something I'll share with people later, but I thought this was appropriate. This book,
Oh, okay. Okay.
this book had a quote in it I thought was appropriate for what we're going to talk about today. And this woman, Eileen Cady, she was the founder of Findhorn Foundation over in Scotland, where they put conscious focus to their plants and prayed and
Oh, okay.
meditated over them so that they would give them ample opportunity to thrive and to flourish under love, under the exposure to love. And in a way, the fact that you paused in thinking about that is really interesting to me, because most people don't pause. They're in adrenaline, they have to do what they do, and they're not really thinking about that. Now, obviously, when you're being shot at, you have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you think that's divinely orchestrated in some weird way too?
It may be. It may be. I don't know exactly where that thought process came from at the time. Obviously, it should have been self preservation, get down behind a rock just like everybody else. Um, I couldn't do that. I didn't do that. And I just felt something needed to be done, or we were all going to die. Um,
Well, you were very brave that day and you paid the price. Do you still have a physical issue because of that?
I do. I've had 26 surgeries. Like I said, I caught several bullets, peppered with shrapnel. The VA wanted to amputate my leg. When I got back, I was able to save my leg. And I'm not complaining because, both feet hit the floor every morning when I get out of bed. But with my youngest, like I can't run around in the yard and do stuff with him like I want to. Um, and he understands that though. He understands that daddy got hurt in war. And I can't run around and keep up with him outside like he wants me to all the time. And he gets it though. He's a
What do you
smart
teach
kid.
him about war?
Ah, it's bad. Nothing good ever comes from it. I think of a Theodore Roosevelt quote, and I'm going to misquote it, but I can give you a synopsis. Never hit a man. Never hit a man unless you 100% absolutely have to. But if you do have to hit him, put him to sleep.
Oh my goodness.
Avoid conflict at all cost. Whether it be war, whether it be physical confrontation, whether it be verbal confrontation, avoid conflict at all cost. Walk away. Walk away, find another way to deal with it, find a different avenue of resolution. But if there's no other way, if you can't walk away from it and you're forced to take a stand, put them to sleep. Like you better win. And he gets that. I'm so proud of him though. Some people might think this is stupid. I'm so proud of him. I get him off the school bus every day and bring him home. And last week he got off the bus and I was taking him over to the car. He goes, "No, Daddy, I need to wait right here." And I'm like, "Why do you got to wait here, buddy?" He goes, "There was a kid on the bus picking on a girl, and I'm going to punch him in the face when he gets off the bus."
No. Aw.
I was proud of him. I was proud of him. Like, okay, he's sticking up for the little girl on the bus that was getting picked on. But it's like, buddy, that might not be how you want to handle it this time. So come on, let's hop in the truck. Let's go home and we can sit down and talk about it. So, and that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did. And, he, I don't want him to be quick with his fists. I want him to be quick with his mind. And there's a big difference between the two.
So you're teaching him a kind of conflict resolution that's not necessarily physically reactional and to take a pause, sort of like slow motion.
Well, exactly. And again, I'm trying to raise a man. And I believe when men react based on their emotions, that's where dangerous men come from. That's where you see school shooters. That's where you see people flipping out on their bosses or at home on their spouses or whatever the case may be. Men give into their emotions too much. I'm trying to teach a little bit of stoicism for him to sit back, think about what it is he wants to do, um, act accordingly. Do not act emotionally. You will rarely make the right decision when you act solely based on emotions. So that's what I'm trying to teach him is to sit and evaluate all aspects, put his emotions aside, and make his decision from there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, you are coming back from quite a bit and you're blazing a trail as an example. And what we have to look forward to is not a basket of roses, but rather sort of a quickly impending potential doom. And I hate to be the naysayer, but actually, I've been preparing for about 20 years, and
Mm-hmm.
here we are. And you're talking about a catastrophic EMP. And again, here's his book, Operation Blackout. If it's a catastrophic EMP, what does that mean for us?
Well, it means anything with a chip or that is computerized or electronic will cease to work. I actually have an EMP protector installed in my vehicle to make sure that my vehicle will still work in case there is an EMP. No cell phones, no TV, no radio, no internet, um, no police, no fire. Cars won't be able to run because they're all computerized these days. And it is going to be mass panic and mass chaos. If you thought going to the grocery store during the COVID situation was bad, where people were fighting over rolls of toilet paper, what do you think's going to happen when we start running out of food, medicine, everything else? It's going to make COVID look like recess in kindergarten. And, people need to learn how to be self-sufficient, how to fend for themselves, how to protect their families. And you've been on the command post, and we put a lot of stuff out there on how to do that. And, the big thing that I really want to touch on that
Well, let's
is,
let's clarify for people.
yeah,
When you get Teddy's book, Operation Blackout, you um, can also read in there about how he has this beautiful list of everything. He's laid it out so well in this book, it's ridiculous. It's like the book is not giant, so you can take it with you and it's easy to read. You can sit down, you can employ it very quickly. He just lays it out so perfectly. And then he cites his teddyscommandpost.com as the place to get additional resources and to assist and kind of become part of that community. So I love that.
yes, and you nailed it right there with community is, I'm not the end all say all. I'm truly not. I'm putting out there what I have acquired, the intelligence that I've received, and things that I have learned from my training throughout the years. But I'm not the end all say all. And the big thing is to build a community. There are people on there that know stuff, different aspects than me about survival. Um, and I think it's great. And I actually did a video the other day and I sent it to them that they have to put up on the command post. And I want everybody to contribute to the command post with tips, thoughts, ideas, plans, because I'm not perfect. There's things that I may have missed. There are things that I did not cover.
Yeah.
So it's a community of those who are gearing towards survival. And I think that's the amazing thing about it is everybody has their own experiences in life. Everybody has their own different backgrounds. And if you have something positive to contribute to the command post on survival through your experience, your training, your background, please do. Because it's a community of people who want to learn and who want to get better and who ultimately want to survive when it hits the fan in this country.
I think that's beautiful. I love this idea of like-minded individuals having a place to share real resource knowledge. And I can't say enough about the book. I sat down and I read it in one day. I loved it.
It's not
And
a big book. It's really not. But what it
it's
is like
comprehensive.
you said, it's intended. If you're running out the door in the mass panic, bring it with you. Throw it on the dash of the car. Throw it in the glove box. Throw it in your go bag. It's there. It's a reference for you to
Yeah.
go back to
It's like the
and
Cliff Notes.
reference different things. Yes.
All right. So I have some things that I want to jump into. You talk about, and this is what you were getting at, the EMP shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit more about the EMP shield.
So they have them out there that you can install. I would have an electrician do it because I'd end up shocking the shit out of myself. I would have an electrician install it into the breaker box of your home, but they also have them for your vehicles. And I have one in my Forerunner because that's going to be my go-to when it hits the fan. And what that does is it hooks to the battery, grounds to the vehicle, and that should um, protect your electronics in that vehicle from the surge that would come off the battery during an EMP attack. And, you know, we'll just have
Well,
to wait and see if it works, you know?
I hate to sound kind of daft here, but if there's no communication, where's everybody going to go? And if you go too far, then you may not even have gas wherever you're going to go next, right? So
Yes.
are we going anywhere? Is it better to stay home? Is it better to stay where you are?
That
And
depends. That depends. Are you in an urban environment or are you living out in the country? If you are in an urban environment, I would get out of Dodge ASAP because it's going to get bad. It's going to get ugly. You're going to have armed packs roaming the streets. It's going to be survival of the fittest, neighbor against neighbor. Um, like I have rally points. I have two close friends, very close friends, that we have rally points. And a rally point is, hey, if something happens, I will meet you here within 24 hours. Now, if something happens, I can't get to rally point one, they know that within 48 hours of something happening, I will be at rally point two. So whether a bridge is out, a road is closed, whatever the case may be, always have a secondary rally point. And let people know, not everybody, your very, very, very close circle, where rally point one and where rally point two is. And you have to have a plan. It's like when I was a kid and my parents used to run fire drills in the house. You have to have a plan. So when it does happen, you are not in mass panic like everybody else. One of the things that I feel I do best is I operate best under chaos, under stress. When things are going easy, when things are slow, I'm stir crazy. I can't. I am like I'm a wreck. Let something uncomfortable happen, and let people start losing their minds around me. I'm good. I'm as calm as can be. Like I got this. I've been here before. I've done this. Let's make it happen.
Well, let's hope
So,
the whole United States is full of people like you.
but you know what? The sad part is they're not. They're not. I just came across a really bad traffic accident a couple days ago. And I was embarrassed to say I was in my car that I did not have my first aid bag, but ran across the street and everybody's just kind of standing there looking. And, I'm not a medic. I'm not a paramedic, but I was a cop and, I was trained in first responder care and then in the military and tactical combat casualty care. And I'm like, all right, who's trained in what? And they're all looking at the skies like, all right, I need somebody to shut down this lane of traffic. Everybody else can get in their cars and leave. I got this. Did somebody call 911? Yes. Boom. All right. One guy was bleeding. I had an old t-shirt in my car, came back, pressure on a wound with an old t-shirt. But it's like, I was completely calm, felt completely fine, while everybody else was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay, relax, calm down. This is what has to happen. So the sad part is the rest of the world is not like this because they're too busy with their heads in their sitcoms and, their TikToks and their morning coffee at Starbucks to where they are just completely oblivious as to what everything is happening around them. And a quick example of that, about 6 years ago, I was in Malibu with my wife and we're walking around. We went down to Santa Monica and we're walking around Santa Monica and everybody walking around Santa Monica like this in their phones, just bumping into people, walking into traffic. It was like something out of a freaking zombie movie. And I remember saying to my wife, I'm like, well, there's going to be another big attack in this country. I see right where it might happen. These people are oblivious to anything that is going on outside of that screen on their phone. Completely oblivious. It's scary. I think we've got our faces in technology too much. And, I grew up as a woodsman. I grew up hunting and fishing. My grandfather and my father taught me. I'm teaching my youngest. Jack went bear hunting with me this past September. And we did get one. We did get a bear.
What do you do with it?
Oh, you eat it. They're good.
Oh, you don't?
Yes. Oh,
No.
they're delicious.
Oh, disgusting.
Delicious. Yeah. But
Oh
that's a lost art.
Okay, I
Okay.
have a lost art for you. How do you light wet wood Because everybody in the city isn't going to know that. How do you light wet wood?
There's a lot of different ways they can
Start a
light
fire.
wet wood. And one of them is they got to go on and order the book. But there are ways. There are ways to do. I can't give out all the secrets here for free.
That's true. That's true. You
Okay. I
have to get the
can't do
book.
that. Got to get the
Operation.
book.
Well, one of the points that you make that's so important, I guess that would be like if you're hunting a bear and he turns on you, or you happen upon a grizzly bear in the woods by accident. You don't have grizzlies down there, I know that. But
no.
you talk about flipping the switch mentally. And you mentioned that even earlier, that you're one way and then all of a sudden, the flipping that switch is perhaps the actual turning point between living and not surviving this type of thing.
It is. It is. You have to have that mentality. All niceties, all manners, anything that you would use daily to conform in society, out the window, completely out the window. Okay. You got to know how to kill an animal, skin an animal, gut an animal, cook an animal. Your neighbors, your people who you think are your friends, they're not your friends. My neighbor, great guy, love him to death. He's a retired Virginia state trooper. And he's over all the time. I'm over at his place. We hang out. And I told him, I said, hey, Rob, just to let you know, you're my boy and we're buddies. If shit ever hit the fan and you got a stocked fridge, I am kicking your door in and I'm coming in with my rifle and I'm taking everything. Just letting you know now. He goes, hey, man, that's all good. He goes, I ain't even going to try to get in your house. So, we joke about it, but if I ran out of food,
happen.
If I ran out of food, yeah, no, it's me and my son are going to live. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We will survive.
And that's what it's coming to, is that people might kill each other's pets and their dogs, and they might start eating each other and whatever they've got, and it's mine over yours. But isn't that the place that we do what you said earlier, where we stop and pause for a second and say, now, wait a minute, if we don't kill another man, then should we steal everything he's got too? Or do we actually just band together and work this out as a community in an event like that?
That's under regular societal rules. When it hits the fan, that's all out the window.
You talked about putting bars on the window of you and creating kind of a fortress, so that, and that's what he's talking about, right? He's alluding to your fortress.
Yes. So, and again, it depends on where you live. Okay. My home is pretty much impenetrable, and I've made sure of it. My rally points are in the mountains. So if it got to the point to where I needed to leave my home, I know exactly where I'm going. I know 3 different routes on how to get there, and people know that's where I'll be. So again, every situation's different. Every circumstance is going to be different, and just people need to adapt to what is going to be best for them in their residence, in their geographical location, and in that particular incident. So
you say canned food, and you give a list of everything that would be great and something that you can survive on easily. I mean, there's so many different things that we could talk about in survival mode, which is all in the book. But in terms of where you go, well, first of all, let's talk about this eclipse upcoming. What do you think the real
I don't have any thoughts on it yet.
You don't have any thoughts? Okay.
No thoughts on the eclipse yet.
Well, here they're freaking out. They're freaking out in New York State. There's going to be a state of emergency. They're like, really, they've already determined there might be a state of emergency because we're going to receive the whole totality of this. And they're intending that traffic will stop for up to 12 hours and people will be stranded on the highways. And they're now supplying state troopers with water and food to give out to people that'll be stranded on the highways all throughout the Adirondacks in here. I don't know.
Doesn't the eclipse only last 7 minutes? something like that, 7 to 14 minutes.
Well, maybe what you're talking about is going to happen. Maybe what you're talking about could be some kind of impetus to electrical grid failure. And heck, I don't
Well,
know.
I think
But
the eclipse might be a cover for something like that happening. If we've had eclipses so many times in the past and nothing like that has ever happened. And again, this is asking the questions. Why would they think something would happen now?
right. I mean, they're
Do
ready for the National Guard to come out. And I
is
mean, this
there
is a big deal.
is there intel out there that somebody may try to do something during this eclipse?
The police
Again,
departments are the ones that are going on and talking about this. They're
yeah.
preparing.
Well, how are their cars going to run?
I don't know.
Good question, isn't it?
Yeah. And if all the cars are stopped, how are they going to distribute anything all the way up the way? I don't know.
Exactly. So
It's very curious.
I think it just may be their way of prepping the population for something bad. They don't know what it's going to be. Maybe they got intel something bad is going to happen during the eclipse. And to keep from setting the population into a panic, they'll blame it on the eclipse. That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
So that's the only logical answer I could give right now. Now that you brought that up, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go do my homework on that and
It's
figure that
a
out.
real
Yep.
deal. And they marked it right as the county near here. And I'm thinking, wow, we're talking about from upstate all the way up through the Adirondacks. And from the Finger Lakes on up through the Adirondacks, they're very concerned about this.
Wow.
And that seems to be a focal point. So now that said, most people in New York State will probably just stay home and they'll probably be on their front porch. But everybody else will
Mm-hmm.
come and want to see what's happening. If it's, they'll get here and it'll be cloudy and they won't see it anyway. So I don't know, but we have an opportunity. And what you're talking about is the perfect time for everyone to read this book. Now, where do they get this book?
Well, a couple of places they can go to. They can go to lastblackout.com. They can go on there. They can see the little documentary we put together. And then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that, they can go on there and order that book.
Lastblackout.com.
You
And
got it.
so if you were to drill down to 10 things that are the most important things that you could do, what would they be?
Most important thing you could do in a blackout? Is that what you're
Mhm.
asking?
Yes, sir.
Number one, preparation. Um, Football games aren't won on Sundays. They're won during practice in the week. Okay. So be prepared, number one. And part of that obviously is having a food supply, having items that you are going to need when a blackout happens.
Yes.
So obviously preparation, food. I am a big proponent, guns and ammo. Guns and ammo. If you have to move, you want to have guns and ammo. You want to have your vehicle prepared. You want to have your vehicle stocked. You want to make sure that you have go bags ready with emergency water, with survival kits, with more survival food, with first aid kits, with things of that nature. I think planning in advance is very, very important. And whether you stay at your home or you need to move, depending on your geographic location, is going to determine a lot. It really is. I have um, I have 5 gallon fuel cans. I've got 6 of them that are filled at all times, and to keep them from going stale, I'll have them for a month. I'll put them in the truck. I'll just pour that gas into the truck and then just go get fresh fuel. Um, make sure you have fuel. Make sure you have some sort of solar powered generator, which is very important. Make sure you have your medicines stocked up on. Um, Make sure you bring things to barter because money is going to be worthless. I would bring blankets. I would bring things like that to where you can barter. If you have any type of night vision, have night vision. I do some predator hunting. I have actual night vision. I have thermal and infrared scopes on my rifles. Kind of like the military is, we own the night. So if you can move at night and own the night as chaos and panic sets in, that's going to be vital. It's going to be very vital. Um, Maps, compasses, like GPS is not going to be a thing anymore. Um,
Yeah.
Learn how to read a map, learn how to read a topographical map, learn how to read a compass, learn how to navigate with a compass, learn,
It
land
sure puts
navigation.
a huge it points out what Harriet Tubman did in the Underground Railroad as a single, well, she actually was a general, but she led people without a compass and without a
Yeah.
GPS through
Yes,
the
she did.
woods, so north and
Yep.
south. Holy cow, under
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah. But the main thing, have a plan. Have a plan. Now, your plan may not be intact. Murphy's Laws of Combat is every plan normally falls apart during first contact, but at least have a plan and at least be prepared. And then you just have to be able to be confident enough in your skills and in your plan to adjust on the fly. Decision making is going to be crucial. The longer it takes to make a decision, might be the difference between life and death. So don't wait too long to make a decision. I tend to go with my gut a lot of times and go with your gut decision and follow through with it. You can always adjust course along the way, but a lot of it's mindset. A lot of it is just survival mindset, and just telling yourself over and over, because we do live in a civilized society. We don't live in a third world country. It's going to turn into a third world country, but in a civilized society, people are still polite, mannerisms, customs, traditions, things of that nature. Get that out of your head. Just get it out of your head now. When it hits the fan, if you want to survive, it's going to be every man for himself. And sometimes you just have to, I'm trying to say it without thinking of a cruel and mean way to say it.
Just say it.
You got to be able to pull the trigger and smile. You just have to, unfortunately. If it gets down to it, if it's between you and your kid or somebody else, it ain't going to be me and it ain't going to be my kid. I will pull that trigger without hesitation. And that's the mindset people need to get into.
Now, when you were over there and you went into something that was unknown, like you really didn't know what you were going to get into until you got into it. You were told, but you don't know till you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you
What's
don't know until you know.
what's one of the most striking takeaways that you experienced in that you come back thinking about going, wow, I had no idea about the enemy. What did you realize?
Don't underestimate them. Don't underestimate them. And after I got back and thought about it, these are the same people that repelled the Mongols. They repelled the French. They repelled the Chinese. They repelled the Soviets. And those are the same class of warriors we were going up against. So never underestimate your enemy. Go in to win, but always respect who your enemy is. And I think that's important. I had a newfound. I didn't like them, but I had to respect how good they were, and I think that helped.
That's an interesting point. Um, Going back to Trump, you sat down with Trump, and was that meaningful for you?
Very meaningful. I mean, come on, who, you get to sit down and talk to a former president. I mean, that was kind of cool.
Must have
So
been an honor, and can you
it it
share
it
any of what
um
he kind of?
Some I can, some I can't. He's not real big on the kiss and tell type stuff. Um,
Well, just general theories of like how what you took away, or how he feels about certain things that maybe
well,
you
I
can
do
share.
know, I do know this. I do know that he loves our veterans first and foremost. I do know that he loves this country first and foremost. I do know that he is aware of threats that are coming down the pike for this country. And here's a man who is dedicated and lost millions of his own personal wealth for the good of this nation. Um, a man who truly cares. This is a man who is not bought and paid for by the military industrial complex. This is a man that they cannot control. And that's what scares a lot of DC insiders is they can't control this guy. They can't bribe him. They can't buy him. Um, and they can't beat him down and they can't keep hitting him with a stick thinking he's going to go away. He's not. And, this man truly, truly, truly loves this country. And this is a man who will do everything in his power to keep this country and its population safe from threats, both external and internal, because we are facing both right now. So
It sure seems like
that's
it. It seems
that's the
like we
Reader's Digest. That's the Reader's Digest version on that. I don't want to get into too much detail. There's a lot of stuff that I can't say. Um, but the man cares and he has a plan to bring things back to where they need to be.
all right. Well, let's hope that whatever is coming down the pike can certainly be thwarted, because right now it seems to me that we're seeing more and more people that are eh, more often than not raped by these people that are coming over the border. That seems to be their first go-to, which is a little scary for people like me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, okay, that's a frightening concept. In fact, even here in this area, which is not dense in population, but lady was out walking her dog and near the country club or the golf course or wherever, and some guy came out and strangled her. Just
Jeez.
showed up, and just a neighbor saw it, and it's like, okay, so these people are kind of moving all over the place, in and out of everywhere, and you don't know where everyone's being distributed, and there's like no accountability, and then it's going to be lost into the evening, lost into the night, so to speak, like you're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
eyes
Well,
on the back of your head.
I'll tell you this. I was a hand-to-hand combat instructor as a police officer for nearly 15 years. I taught defensive tactics, hand-to-hand combat, and I was a court-recognized expert in use of force policy and procedure. I wrote policies and procedures for police departments and other tier one security groups, trained with and for federal agencies when it came to that skill and discipline. And on the side, I always offered free women's self defense classes at women's gyms and things of that nature because I felt, women should have the knowledge to be able to defend themselves. And the one thing I would tell them, if you go out there looking like food, you're going to get eaten. Okay. First and foremost, carry yourself with confidence. I've read studies that were done on criminals where they actually asked criminals certain things on how they chose their victims, specifically criminals who attack police officers. If a cop was sharp, shine boots, crisp crease in the pants, clean shaven, was in shape, carried himself appropriately, they knew within 3 seconds they weren't going to try this guy. But if the cop was slovenly, had ketchup stains on his shirt, boots all scuffed up, the criminal sized him up real quick and thought, yeah, I can take this guy. So it's the same thing with how you carry yourself as a person. Uh, Criminals pick their victims. It's kind of like in the wild where lions go after the weak gazelle. Carry yourself with confidence. Head back, chest out, you know, confident stride, confident look. Always be looking around, making sure you see who's around you. It's all attitude is what it is. And that's the first step in preventing any type of attack from anybody. So it's the way you carry yourself.
Very good. Well, where can people get your book again?
Lastblackout.com. Lastblackout.com. Go there. You'll see a little video, a report that I put together leading up to what looks like, and again, all of the government and intelligence reports that I've obtained as well are in there. And then, we decided to put this book together. And
This book is so important. It's just so important. Honestly, I've looked at a lot of different things, and I love the fact that it's not giant, but I love the fact that it's such an easy read, and it's something that is, see, it's like cliff notes to what you need
mhm.
immediately. Now, if you've been a preparedness person, there's even more in here that you can use to think about. So let's say that you're already a preparedness person. There's things in here that you can take and utilize additionally. There's also, for people that have never done anything, this is your Bible to getting going and hurry up, because you're going to need to hurry up. I hate to say it. I don't want to be like, Chicken Little, but we have so many signs and symptoms of hemorrhaging. So how
Mhm.
long do you think we have until kickoff?
Oh boy, you're gonna make me make a prediction based on, and
Sorry.
again, I'm basing this off of, so I have a lot of sources in the intel community, a lot of sources in the three-letter agencies, a lot of sources that sit in congressional and Senate seats. Um, Something may pop off before the November election.
Well, do you think that the bridge event was a false flag event, or do you think it was a legitimate event? I mean, what do we think is going on there?
Well, it doesn't. Uh, Again, and I've just started really digging into that a little bit too.
Well, we can
There,
make that for another time. You don't have to
yeah,
comment
well,
on it
and
just
now
now
here's the
because
thing. There's a lot of inconsistencies with that. A lot of inconsistencies with what happened and the story that the media is giving. Um, I did see that there are two steering pumps, um, that on ships that size are alternated odd and even days. And when you're coming in and out of a port, it's always steering pump one, because if power goes out, boom, instantaneously the diesel generator backs that up and you don't lose power. My question is why was a ship that size um, not tied to tugboats pulling it out of the harbor um, to where it could hit a bridge? It just,
it was so close to the bridge already. Like, what was it
yes.
doing even that close to the bridge? One would know if you navigate boats or ships not to go that close.
We'll see if there's
Like,
protocols that were supposed to
it's
be
like
taken.
it was like doing this instead of,
Well, and
straight.
a ship that size takes a mile and a half to steer.
Right.
So, like, for them to say, "Oh, he tried to steer out of the way," I truly believe if he didn't steer and just let the boat drift, he'd have missed the bridge. I believe that that ship was steered into the bridge. So, there's different angles, different video. And again, I'm not a maritime expert and I'm not claiming to be. And I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night either. But I still have my homework to do on that and still have some research to do before I jump the gun and say something and just be completely wrong. I don't like putting out an informed decision unless I've actually had time to dig, research, investigate, and at least make an informed uh, comment on the situation. So, from what I see at base level, some things aren't adding up, and that's all I can pretty much say about that at this point.
Very good. Teddy Daniels, what's your one takeaway survival tip?
Mindset. Get your mind right. That's it. Mindset. You could have all the skills in the world. If your mindset is not right, you're not going to survive. That's just all there is to it. Get yourself mentally tough, because when it gets ugly, you got to be able to get through it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Wow, that was weird. My whole
Yeah.
screen just ended. The whole thing just ended.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know
Everything,
what happened there.
everything blipped out. There we go again. It's my friendly fire. Mm. I put up with a lot of strange hacking. Anyway, there we are. Teddy Daniels, Operation Blackout, and he has your go-to, so you can get your copy of your book. And if you're nice, he might even sign one for you. So it's been a pleasure. Appreciate it. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what
Thank
you've
you.
done, and thank you for your insight and sharing all of your opinions and your insight. And love your artwork as well. So there we have it, everybody. And I ask everybody one question: what makes your life brighter?
My little boy makes my life brighter. He is the one thing that keeps me going. And just to elaborate, like I said, we lost his mom last year tragically, and he's helped me get through this, I think, just as much as I've helped him. So that's what makes my life brighter.
That's beautiful. Well, God bless you both, and we'd love to have you back sometime. In the meantime, everybody needs to memorize this and get everything going, because if you haven't done it now, you need to do something. You need to do something. You're being told. So, all right, go jolly, everybody. Thank you for listening to Making Life Brighter, and go out and make somebody else's life brighter. Teddy Daniels, right here.
Thank you. So an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
So for my closure, I'm going to read what I picked out that I thought was very appropriate for today's interview. And these are channeled messages from God to Eileen Cady, as she spent many years praying over her plants and basically changing a society by her consciousness. So here's what was told to her that she wrote down in her diary: the answers within. As you seek, so you will find the answers within. I cannot stress this often enough or strongly enough. Much precious time is wasted searching for the mysteries of life from without, when they are within your own being. When you realize fully that I am within you and that I am all knowledge, all wisdom, all understanding, you'll stop wasting time. Think of yourself as having a spring of ever-living, everlasting water bubbling up from within. All knowledge, all wisdom, all understanding, all love is right there at the source of that spring, waiting to come out, waiting to be manifested as you recognize and accept it. You need no teacher, no guru. All you need is an expansion of consciousness so that you can accept these truths. They are there for all who accept when they are ready to do so. And there we have it. So go jolly, everybody. And that was God Spoke to Me by Eileen Cady. Thank you, Teddy Daniels. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and God bless you.